does that in the logo for some reason.
Yeah.
It must be a glitch of some kind.
Good old technology.
Yeah, every single time. Hello and welcome to the Canadian Bro Show, our second iteration of the Canadian Bro Show. My name is Paul Bale. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. The first iteration, for those that haven't seen the show, is my co-host Johnny, and we focus on pop culture and all things Canadian. And we've done 16 episodes. So if you're interested in watching free, kind of fun, kind of silly, definitely entertainment, sometimes, anyways. And go check us out. This is the new iteration, as I was mentioning just in the beginning here. And this iteration, as you can see, our logo is in the right hand corner, is the Canadian Bro Show, all basketball from the Hoopjunkies, Pauly and Rowley. And very excited. My co-host is Trent Rowley. I introduced you to him very shortly. Very talented chap. Wait till you hear his voice. It just it's like the ladies used to, when Tom Jones sang that, what they used to do, throw up on the stage. Trent's voice is very similar to the Welsh singer of Tom Jones. You'll see what I mean. It's quite extraordinary. As a matter of fact, I might as well introduce you right now. But before I do that, I just wanted to say we're all going to talk about basketball. Trent and I are hardcore sports fanatics. I'm really a hardcore hoop junkie. Trent has a very, very much a larger, diversified sports background, both playing and watching, whereas I tend to just focus on basketball. I do watch other sports, but that is my mission. My goal is to continue on being a hoop junkie. I've done it for over 50 years, and I'd like to do it for a lot more. And let me get back to introducing a very talented, an old friend of over 35 years. I believe I met Trent when he was 22 years old in Lloydminster, literally on the border of Alberta and Saskatchewan, in a sports bar, a country and western sports bar. And if it wasn't for Trent, I might have had my head removed that evening, as I made the mistake when I went into that bar and took over the pool table. You just don't do that in small towns. This is not Vancouver. This is not the Cecil. And I proceeded to beat everybody. And then, unfortunately, I beat the wrong two people. One was a very, very talented and attractive lady who happened to be the girlfriend of the town bully, ice hockey bully. And I beat him in pool, and he did not like it and put me in a headlock, locked my face down on the pool table, and was going to choke me out until I saw Trent standing about 30 feet away, holding a plastic jug of CC and Coke with 4 straws. And he was laughing, having a great time. He just ran the bar, and I just put my left hand up as the only thing I could move, and I said, "Excuse me, hello, could somebody help me? This guy's choking me out. I'm going to die." And Trent came over and talked to the guy, and I got out of there alive. So thank you kindly, Trent, very much for that.
Yeah.
And welcome to the Canadian Bro Show. We're so happy to have you.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, the pool part, you winning in pool is definitely part of that story. I'm sure there was some trash talk that went on that probably wasn't appreciated by that person. Knowing you as I know you,
Who,
you
me?
are a very vicious winner. You're put your foot on my throat kind of guy, and you're going to make sure that the guy hears about it, but still
I don't
doesn't
like to. I don't like to lose.
doesn't excuse the behavior of that said person. That said
Oh,
person's a great dude, by the way. Now it's kind of funny when people start having kids, especially men who have girls,
yeah.
seem to change their perspective on life in general. So
Yeah, it happens. It happens even to the best of us or worst of us sometimes.
for sure, for sure.
And so tell me what's like. What do you remember of the first time of us meeting? Your perception is probably a lot different than mine. I mean, it was quite a long time ago, and what do you remember about our first? Oh, by the way, I should probably tell you why we were there. On the side story, before Trent tells me that, one of our friends now, the Romagnoli brothers, Eddie and Danny Romagnoli, Eddie called me up, and his mother and her boyfriend, Saeed, had a restaurant in on the border of Lloydminster and Alberta, Saskatchewan. I'm not sure which side,
On
and
the
it was
Alberta
called
side.
was on the Alberta side. It was called the restaurant was called Chow, And Eddie was the chef, and he wanted me to run the front of the house. And I was in between jobs in Vancouver, and that's what I did for my hospitality industry. That was my trade at the time. And I went out there, and we turned the restaurant around. And in 6 months, we paid all their bills off. And then the city decided to remove the sidewalks around our restaurants and do work. And we couldn't get people in. And somebody had done it intentionally. And I think Gina and Saeed must have upset somebody in the municipal mayor's office. And anyways, it was a real challenge, and that's how we sort of met. And that's what my memory was. I don't remember how we met after that, though.
Well, we met our first time meeting was me playing, basketball on my own at Anniversary Park.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
As for lots of people who are basketball fans or just people who play, one of my go-tos has always been, uh, when I get to play basketball, whether I'm shooting the ball on my own or I'm playing, that's all that's happening in the world. So if you're having those days or you're stressed, for me, going and shooting baskets was always just a way to not think about all the other shit that was going on in the world, right?
Amen. Totally feel
And
you.
I think most people that'll end up listening to this are in the same boat that way. Basketball's always been just going out in the driveway and shooting it for a half an hour is enough to take your mind off things. And
Absolutely.
so I was there playing on my own, and you showed up. We started playing. We played a little bit of one-on-one, and you introduced
I
yourself.
showed up. I showed up just by myself.
Yeah, you were on your own. Yeah, I don't know how
Okay.
you found that park,
Oh,
but
believe me, anywhere I go, I find a court.
exactly. So uh, you came up. We played a little bit of one-on-one. We just talked for a little while, and you said what you had just mentioned about the restaurant stuff like that.
Right.
Came over there. I knew a couple of the kids that were working for you that had played basketball as well at the high school
Right.
at two different high schools in Lloydminster, and yeah, I mean, basketball was definitely a bond for you and I. I think you were probably, my perception when I look at it now, yeah, there we go, is you were probably a little bit shocked to have this person in, Lloydminster, Alberta,
Yeah.
that knew what he knew about basketball and had a
Oh,
love for it. And
and you had skills like you,
so it was
you know.
definitely bonding.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I notice about players too when I first meet them and when I first play basketball with them is their footwork and how they move and their hands. And it's very rare you can find a big chap like you. You were intermediate, but I mean larger than life, as it says, co-host of the most. It's quite literally true. And all you have to do is just ask him. If you don't know that, he'll be happy to share that with you at any time.
Yes, no
He's like
problem.
Johnny. They're both shamelessly uh, complimentary of themselves. They're their best friends. They love themselves very much, and I think that's really important in life. And Trent does a great job of it. But I don't remember that court. I remember going, but I just don't remember that first meeting on the court there.
Well, that's where
Um,
we met.
yeah,
So,
that's
and then
awesome.
after
And
that,
then,
it just evolved from there.
well, you told me about the senior men's league in Lloydminster, right? And I think I ended up I couldn't get on your team because you guys are the best. You guys are the
No,
defending
no,
champions.
so that's not how it started. So how it started
Oh,
was they started a spring league and they picked the teams, and you were new to town, and they
right.
actually Tom Grote ran it,
I
and we
remember.
were on the same team.
Oh
But
yeah.
the first 3 games, we won by like 50 points, and they were like, "Okay, this we need to split the 2 of you up and put us on different teams," and we ended up, I think, playing in the finals of that spring league.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we played together on the team to begin
Got
with,
it.
and I'm pretty sure we played. It was either 2 or 3 games, and
Yeah.
then he split the team up. He just said, "Hey, you guys, we need to split you guys up to make this even."
Mm.
And lo and behold, of course, our 2 teams are the 2 better teams in the league that year. So we played a bunch of with each other,
Yeah.
played against each other.
I
But
forgot
like I
about
said,
that.
the basketball thing was what for me personally, that's always been my in was
Right.
is basketball or
Yeah.
sports in
Yeah.
general. So when I moved to
Absolutely.
Vancouver, right? When I moved to Vancouver, you and Ed were the only people I knew.
Yeah.
So, to give people information, I lived with Paul for a while. When
Yeah.
I moved there, he lived 2.5 blocks from one of the greatest basketball courts on the earth, as far as I'm concerned, at Kitts Beach.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And all of a
First in
sudden, you
York. First in
yeah,
York.
and you're able to walk down there and play basketball anytime
Yeah.
on any given Saturday or Sunday. There'd be 150 people down there trying to play on 2 courts. So some
Yeah.
really good basketball and a lot of fun.
Maybe more.
So
And it was packed all the time.
and that was a way to get to know people. All of a sudden, you
Yeah.
started playing pickup with those people. All of a sudden, there was
Yeah.
people saying, "Hey, would you like to play men's league with us?"
Yeah.
And that kind of evolved, and the same thing happened in Victoria. All the people I
Right.
know in Victoria that are my good friends are all through basketball, or met through via somebody else through basketball. But that's always been sports has always been uh, my thing to be able to meet people, get to know people, and kind of go from there, right? We're either gonna get
Yeah.
along or not. I have a love-hate relationship with most people. I mean, you
Yeah.
either love me or we're
Mhm.
just acquaintances. There's no real in between, and it's
Yeah.
probably because of sports, because of that, as me
Yeah.
being ultra competitive just like you are.
Yeah.
So so
Yeah.
when we talk about this what we're doing right now, so people know, is something Paul and I have been talking about for years, to do
15
something like
years.
this, just to talk about basketball,
Yeah.
nothing else. I
Well,
don't
we've
wanna
been
talk
talking about basketball for longer than 15 years, but
yeah,
I've been talking about a YouTube channel,
and
basketball
disagreeing on
YouTube channel,
basketball.
15
So
years.
I mean, because
Um,
you're a Knicks fan and a Lakers fan, we don't agree on a lot of what
Well,
goes on.
I'm a basketball fan. Those are teams that I follow. I follow a lot of teams. I like a lot of teams. I mean,
Oh,
when we get into that, we'll talk about the NBA. We'll talk about fantasy. There's so much to talk about with basketball. We've got Canadian basketball, the CIS. We've got the Canadian Elite Basketball League, which is a new professional league that's growing exponentially. We have a franchise in the West Coast called the Vancouver Bandits. One of my friends and ex-coach of the London Lightning, Doug Plum, who won 3 championships in a row, is in Kelowna right now, and he's an associate head coach and consultant for the UBCO Heat basketball team, and he's working in the community, and he wants to bring a CEBL team into Kelowna, which is perfectly set up for that. So there's so much. There's the NBA, there's NCAA Division One, there's NAI Division, there's Federation of International Basketball Association, which is truly global. As I mentioned briefly in some of my past episodes on with Johnny and Pauly, is basketball is the fastest growing sport in the world right now, and it was invented by a Canadian. A lot of people don't realize this. The Americans, they sort of take credit for the invention of the sport because the chap that invented it, Dr. James Naismith, was a Canadian, but he was working for the YMCA and University of Massachusetts in the late 1800s, and was educated and affable and very friendly. And they decided to, because the East Coast winters are really tough, to create a sport where they could play indoors. And very shortly thereafter, Dr. James Naismith invented basketball with 13 rules in 1894, and started the first team at the YMCA. And shortly thereafter, after basketball really exploded and started to grow, in Europe, the very first basketball club was invented at Montepaschi, Siena in 1897. Only 3 years after Dr. James Naismith invented the sport, they have their first basketball club. It's still running today, and they're in the A1 in the Italian A1 league, like EuroLeague. And, the growth's just incredible. And then, with Yao Ming, in the NBA, China opened up, and then a few bigger, more well-known East Indian players. The same thing happened in Africa. Look what's happening there. And what's interesting about Canada, Trent, is that we'll get into this with the hoops. Is that basketball is slowly overtaking hockey in Canada, which is just remarkable because Canada's also, or hockey is also a Canadian invention as well, and they happen to play the same season. So the kids today just love hoops, and you played not only in high school and elementary, but you played in junior college. Did you not?
yep. Yeah, at, Camosun in Victoria for a year.
Right, right,
Yeah,
and that was in the
mhm,
SAG league. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah.
And I played at Langara, VCC Langara, and SFU with Jay Triano. But anyways, getting back to basketball, Trent, let's start this off. The basketball season starts tonight, the NBA season.
Yeah, baby. Ring
So
presentation.
I'm super excited. We can talk about our Trent and I have we decided to do a fantasy basketball. It's a Yahoo NBA fantasy basketball team together, but we have different teams, so we're competing against each other in the same league, and it happens to be a very top league. It's like there's like out of the 10 players. I think 6 or 7 of them are like platinum or gold level. And then there's 3 players that are bronze. I won't mention who the bronze players' names are.
I have no record. I'm surprised they even gave me a bronze. I'm surprised I didn't get a participation ribbon, so
I
it is what it
yeah,
is.
I don't know
Doesn't
how they
affect
do
me.
that. I don't
Yeah.
know how. I guess the algorithms must decide
Yeah.
whatever. But in that being said, I have printed out our 2 teams and your draft on your teams. I think my draft came out as the 3rd best team statistically across the 9 categories, and your team came out in the bottom 3, and that's why I think they gave you the bronze. But if you look at your team closely, I would say your team's much better than what the algorithm gave you or the Yahoo fantasy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm looking at it thinking it's, I didn't do too
Very,
bad,
very
so,
good.
yeah.
Very good.
So,
You don't have much of a weakness at all on yours.
I got
But
lots of size. Yeah,
we can get into fantasy basketball later. Let's talk about the season. This is the NBA season. We're going to do a preview of it. We're going to break it down into all of the conferences. We want to talk about who we think is going to be in the end of the season. Who's going to be in the playoffs? Where are they going to be? What are the standings? Who are the teams to watch for? And then we want to discuss all of the different conferences of the NBA. There's 6 altogether, and then at the very end of the episode, when we get there, we'd like to talk about our predictions for 2024 and 25 season. How does that sound, Trent?
sounds good, man.
Alrighty. Well, do you want to talk about like an NBA season preview? Do you want to talk just quickly because I know you both of us are big WNBA fans, and their season just finished yesterday,
Yeah,
and of course our favorite female basketball player in the world is
Caitlin Clark, I mean, come on.
yeah. I mean
I
she's
mean, let's
just
go, that's my girl right there. I mean,
yeah yeah
I've been following her since her sophomore year, so, I mean, she is, generational. She's Michael Jordan of women's basketball. She's bringing
absolutely
money, advertisement, and
absolutely
we can get
it's
into all the
remarkable
other stuff. It's insane what's been going on in that league.
yeah
The finals are just the other night.
yeah
Um, Unfortunately, the end of the game was probably it's very skeptical of the call that was made at the end that
once
they
again
didn't overturn. I don't think it's a foul, but hey, I mean,
yeah
the fact that the New York Liberty have been in the league from the get-go and had never
yeah
won, I guess getting their title, that's great.
yeah
I'm more interested, like you brought up all the leagues. Let's not forget NCAA women. We got
yeah
Juju and Paige Beckers and
yeah
that whole group, Notre Dame and South
yeah
Carolina. I mean, and and obviously WNBA. Um,
Absolutely, and we want to talk about street hoops as well. And 3-3, the 3-3 league.
right. Yeah,
Cubes got the 3-3 league. We've got FIBA 3-3. The
I've
Olympics
won
now
sorry,
incorporated 3-3. And by
and
the
the
way,
women.
talking about Caitlin, if I don't mind interjecting, Trent, the uniform that you see behind me, the Atlanta. That's from I believe it, the Atlanta Hawks in 1976. 44 was the amazing Pistol Pete Maravich, my favorite basketball time of all time. And Caitlin Clark actually beat Pistol Pete Maravich's unbeatable scoring record.
Yeah,
She did it in 5 years as opposed to Pete doing it in 3 years, but that is
they did it.
nothing.
She did it in 4.
4 years, pardon me, but Pete only played 3 years before he got drafted
Yep.
into the ABA and NBA. And to put it in perspective for those that don't know, Pistol Pete averaged over 3 seasons 44 points a game without a 3-point line, and was the point guard and averaged 7 or 8 assists as well. It just an absolutely wizard with the ball. He was electrifying.
As well,
Um,
he played for his dad and got to shoot the ball 38 times a game too. So I
well,
mean,
he shot 58% from the field.
hey man, guy's a phenomenal. I mean,
I
what he
mean,
can
if you shoot
away from his
58%
dad.
from and you're taking threes, and I mean, people don't understand his handle was kill. So his dad used to take Pete in the car to practice, and Pete would roll down in the window in the front seat and dribble the basketball as his dad was driving the speed limit at 35 out and sitting in the car dribbling the basketball. I mean, try that. I've
Yeah,
tried it. It's almost impossible.
yeah.
And I almost got a ticket from the police because I was doing it down in Kits by Kits Beach. I was just
Wow.
like showing off. Not like I do that often or anything.
Yeah, never.
Yeah. So getting back to hoops, we're going to bring Caitlin up a lot. We're going to bring up a lot of old players. And by the way, that jersey that is in my sports bar, my studio here in Kelowna, was a gift from Trent. It is the largest jersey I've ever seen. I think he bought it for himself and then decided to just give it to me because he was feeling generous. I put it on and it's like a curtain. So I think I'm going to wash it in hot water a couple of times and see if I could shrink it down somehow.
You should. The only reason it's that size is because that's the only one they had there, and when I saw it, I just went, I might never wear this thing, but I
Yeah,
gotta have it." I mean,
yeah,
it
oh
has the
yeah,
pistol on the bottom instead of Maravich, and it's just
right,
it
right.
it it was like it's iconic, right? I
Yeah,
was
it
just
is.
like, "I gotta buy that." So,
Yeah,
it didn't I
no,
never ever wore it. It was too big for me too. It was just
right.
that coming on that trip to Vancouver with the wife, it was, I'm like, "This is a gift for you." I mean, it's something that
No, I
you're
appreciate
not
it,
gonna
man.
probably be able to wear either, but, hey, eventually maybe get a jersey case, and it's in a jersey case,
Oh,
right?
I
So,
believe me, and I've got my Nash up over here on the other
yeah,
side too, Steve Nash way.
so
But let's get to the show here, Trent. Let's. What do
alright,
you want to? You want to talk? Let's go through the divisions. Do you want to start?
sure.
You want to start off with the East this year? Normally, everybody always starts with the West. East is a beast this year.
Yeah, I
What do you
mean,
think? Do you want to go West Coast first because we
let's
are
start
West
with the
Coast?
East. I think the East is easier, honestly. I only think there's 4 teams that are competitive in the East, so let's go with the
I
East first.
agree. Well, let's break it down. Let's start off with the Atlantic Conference, and the Atlantic Conference has, all of the East Coast teams: the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Toronto Raptors, and the Brooklyn Nets. And what would you like to start off talking about? Who do you think is going to win the Atlantic Conference this
Okay, so uh,
season?
and then okay, so we'll start this. Um, it's the Atlantic Division
Yep,
in the Eastern Conference.
correct.
Okay, not the Atlantic Conference. Alright, just so we don't confuse people.
No, I mean absolutely.
Okay. Well, I would say I would be very shocked if Boston is not winning the conference or that
Yeah,
division again. I
yeah.
mean, they didn't change anything. Experience does count, and having good players counts. And
And they added to their team, their championship
yeah,
team,
exactly.
more depth.
I would say Boston. I would say Boston winning that division. I think the Knicks are probably next because, again, as we've seen, one of your favorite topics, as we've seen, is Joel Embiid is already going to miss the first week, and
Mm,
Paul George is day to day. And Embiid's already come out and said, "I don't think I'll ever play back to back." This is something we can get into down the road of these
yeah,
soft
yeah.
players of this era.
After
So
just getting
yeah,
$250 million contract,
and I like the trade the Knicks made. I think getting
Towns.
Cat there is that's a great move for them. I mean,
Yeah,
I'd like to see him play big a little bit more, but at the same time, for what they need and in this division in the Eastern Conference, I think the Knicks are basically the second best team in the entire conference, so they're probably going to be behind the Celtics. I'd be
yeah,
surprised unless injuries, of course, but
oh,
I
yeah,
mean, I
yeah.
think the Knicks they have basically the team they had. They've improved the team they had last year. I mean, really. I know
Oh
you
my
lost
God,
Randle and
exponentially.
yeah,
Unfortunately, their bench is very suspect. It's lacking in depth. They
yeah. Well,
really need
Thibodeau only
another
plays
big.
7 guys anyways.
They need another big. They really, losing Hardelstein for $83.5 million to Oklahoma was just a huge miss, and they threw a ton of money at the dude. And unfortunately, he breaks his hand just last week.
Yeah, yeah.
Just brutal luck. So again, your comment, we're going to bring up injuries a lot because Trent and I talk about the softness of today's NBA players and the variety of very
Contusions.
suspect injuries. And Trent,
Paul has a just so
oh,
people know, Paul has a line for every injury, and it ends with something contusion because that seems to be every guy's
just
injury in the NBA now.
and I have to admit, there's usually vulgarity attached, and I will try to watch my vulgar mouth. YouTube is not particularly fond of swearing. I think they allow it, but
Yeah, we don't need to.
no, we don't need to. I'm educated enough where I don't have to swear every second word. Yeah, I'll just wait till we finish the show, and then I'll start going back to what I usually talk like. But the Atlantic, I agree with you. I think Boston is really the team to beat, not just in the East. I think it's the team to beat in the NBA. I think New York Knicks. If anybody is looking over their shoulder, Boston is going to be, especially if they can add some depth. But their starting five might be the best starting five in the NBA. It might be
Yeah,
better than Boston's, and that's something to say. And then Philly, if Embiid wasn't 30 on one one decent leg and a very bad bum knee. He's had two major surgeries on, and the dude is, probably 300 pounds. Um, I think they added depth. They've got a great coach, who's a friend of mine, and I played against him in the BBL, the British Basketball League, is Nick Nurse, and I think they've done a good job adding depth at all positions. And if Philly can get through Embiid playing 50 games, they've got Andre Drummond backing it up, and Andre he had 14 points, 22 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and hit almost all of his foul shots just last week. So talk about a guy that can come off the bench and dominate. And he's a big man. He's about 300 pounds at 6'10". And then you're looking at, I think the Raptors, they're going to really struggle this year, and but I think they're going to be better than the Brooklyn Nets. I think Brooklyn Nets are they're in trouble. They're
I
really
agree.
horrible.
I think the
And
Raptors are gonna be I think if they play the right style, they're gonna be a fun team to watch. They're gonna be young, and if they decide to get the ball off the backboard, play defense, and run,
yeah,
they could be a fun team to watch. They've added I think we're gonna see if Grady Dick is an NBA player or not. Hasn't been too bad in the preseason.
do you see him
He's able to
light it
stop.
up for 27
Yeah,
the other day?
so, I mean, there's potential there, right?
Yeah,
So, I think as a we cheer for the Raptors obviously being the Canadian team. I
yeah,
wish we
of
still
course
had our team in Vancouver,
we will.
but,
We'll get it back.
but,
Montreal
uh
might get one too, but Vancouver, and
yeah,
Montreal are next.
but I think Toronto will be they're gonna be middle of the road. They're gonna probably be that 7th, 8th, or a play-in team at the
Yeah,
end of the year. I
yeah.
mean, they're not gonna be in the top 4 teams in the East, probably
Mm.
not even in the top 6 in the East, so but they do have an opportunity to get into the playoffs. I think they're good enough in the East to get into that at least play-in game, and, their game should be fun to watch if they play the right way. But, I'm with you. I think it's the Celtics, the Knicks, the Sixers, the Raptors, the Nets in the Atlantic.
Wow, we agree for once. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
that's very awesome.
And I'm a big Raptors fan. I follow Canadian basketball. I'm so proud of it. It's come a long way, thanks to many people. Did you know, a little side note of tidbit of information I'll throw in every once in a while? Do you know who the second nation in the world of this global sport, fastest growing sport in the world, has more NBA players than any other country aside from the States? Who's number two?
That would be Canada.
You are a smart cookie. Do
Yes,
you know how
we
many
are.
Canadian players have played in the NBA?
Have or do?
Have and do.
I think were we not up to 31 last year?
Yes,
That was a good guess.
that was a good guess, and I believe it's still at 30. And there's a couple of guys
Yeah,
in the G League that might get 10-day contracts or two
right.
ways and get an opportunity to come up. But that it's exploding. It's quite impressive. 52 players have played, and the third country, believe it or not, guess who the third country is, Trent? With the most NBA players from that country, a country that's just recently really exploded with talent.
Well, I don't think it's Serbia, but it might be Serbia, but
No, that's a
it's
good choice. Serbia's four.
I was yeah, I don't know, probably France. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. France. They've got a lot. And just, in FIBA, Federation International Basketball Association, when I played professional basketball about 25 years ago, actually 30 years ago. I started in 1994 and I finished in 2000. I played for 6 years on 8 teams. And when I played back in the BBL, we were on Sky Sports. And a couple of the teams I played on were in EuroLeague. And EuroLeague are these teams like Serbia and Greece and Russia and Turkey, where all of these countries, Spain, they have the money, and even the CBA in China, which plays at a different time of the year. There's so much money out there, and you have to, because you look at what these cats are making in the NBA, and it's absolutely shocking. What we would call a scrub is getting a 3 year, $40 million contract. It's just absolutely insane.
Alright.
But getting back to the East Coast, so that we agree on the Atlantic Conference. Let's talk about the Central
Okay, well, you can go
Conference.
first.
I'm thinking that, and this one was kind of interesting. I think this is a really interesting conference. I really think I have to give it to the Milwaukee Bucks because they're just 2 years removed from being champions. Um, they've had a lot of coach turnover. They've had a little bit of turmoil in the GMs, and I think now that they've got, they got Dame, and Dame's in a better position. He had a great off season working out. He's lost weight, and he had a lot of personal stuff, family, and I think he's ready, healthy, motivated. I think the Greek Freak is healthy and motivated, and I still think he's top 5, 6 player in the NBA right now. And if Middleton can survive these 2 major ankle surgeries he's had at his age, he is still productive and still can give you something. They've got more depth. You've got Portis, you've got Lopez, who I don't know what he's done, what he's drinking, what vitamins he's eating. The guy never shot a 3-pointer in his entire career, and now he's in the top 5 in block shots, and he leads all centers in the NBA with the most threes, and he's
Okay.
playing really well, and he's going on 37 years old.
Yep.
So I have to give Milwaukee the first. I would say the second team is one team you're going to have to really watch out, and they are going to run and gun teams into oblivion, and the Indiana Pacers,
Yep.
with Halliburton, probably one of the best point guards in the league. And I think Rick Carlisle's done a fantastic job. He's never been a run and gun coach, even though he played for some run and gun teams in Boston.
Yep.
But they have depth, they have height, and they're well coached, and they'll put up 128, 130 points a game and try to beat you by get more buckets, right?
Yep. I agreed.
And then I'm looking at Cleveland. I think Cleveland's done a really nice job of adding depth. They've got the dual 7-footers. You've got a fantastic electric backcourt. And again, as Trent said earlier, all of these predictions that we're doing are all based on health.
Yeah.
And
Well.
if these teams can stay healthy, then I've got the Bulls. And then the Detroit Pistons are just terrible, but they're certainly better than the last couple of years.
Yeah.
What
Well,
do
I
you?
would. We're going to disagree on this one. I
Yeah,
actually
that's
think
fine.
Milwaukee is done. I think that team is. I think because of what you just talked about with some of the age, some of the injuries. I I don't see them. I see them being maybe the fifth best team in the East. I think it's flip a coin between Indiana and Cleveland who wins that division.
Yeah.
Barring injuries, again, nobody seems to be able to play more than 50 games. Now they all
Yeah.
want to play 65 so they can win individual awards. But
And get
uh,
their bonuses.
I would right now for me, and I like the way they play. Again, I would
Me.
probably pick the Pacers and then the Cavs. I think the Cavs are the one team, just like last year. Again, injuries. If they don't have the injuries they have in the playoffs, who says that they don't beat the Knicks in the playoffs last year?
Yeah.
Right? Jared Allen and Mitchell both hurt.
Yeah.
They've got size. Mobley's going to be a year better.
Yeah.
Uh, the backcourt is one of the better backcourts in the NBA when they're
Yeah.
healthy
Yeah.
with Garland
Definitely.
and Mitchell. So
Yeah.
it's a coin flip for me, those two teams. I'm going to
And
pick
they
the
got
Pacers.
they got Levert coming off, who's pretty electric when he's on.
I'm going to pick the Pacers just because they're fun to watch. They are a fun team to watch. They don't play any defense, which
Yeah.
is sometimes maddening as a basketball purist. I guess I want to see some
Yeah.
defense.
Yeah.
Cleveland will play D.
Yeah.
Cleveland will play a game in the 90s at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Indiana is not letting people are getting 110 on Indiana every game, but they're going
Oh
to score
yeah.
130.
But
So
yeah.
I'm going to go with Indiana and Cleveland. Then I'll put the Bucks there because nobody cares about the Bulls and Detroit. Nobody cares about those two franchises, which is
I
sad.
agree. It is
So,
sad, but I'm really happy to see Lonzo Ball
yeah,
back after 2 years. And his first game, he came in and hit his first 2 threes and dropped some dimes, and he was moving around and looking good. And you know what kind of surgery he had, eh? He had
yeah,
just a very rare surgery. I haven't heard very many success stories. And they grew fresh cartilage on his knee, upper and lower, and it actually grew back, and he's playing on that.
that's crazy.
And yeah, it is crazy, but God bless him, and I hope he can come back, because after seeing what happened to Clay Thompson for 3.5 years,
Yeah.
is and Middleton as well. And I mean, it's really tough for these players. It's a lot easier when you've got a $150 million contract and it's 80% guaranteed, or sometimes 100%.
And
But
we got 2 Canadians on I think out of all those teams, I actually
yeah,
think Indiana's the deepest. You got 2 Canadians,
yeah,
the young kid from Arizona that got hurt last year, and then
yeah,
Nemhart. I actually think he's gonna the
yeah,
Olympic experience, I was
yeah,
yelling at the TV during the Olympics that
yeah,
to play him more. Like, why are we not playing him more? Jamal Murray was trash.
Yeah, he
He
played
obviously
terrible.
was still hurt.
Yeah.
Why didn't we play Nemhard? Nemhard, I think, is gonna be a big those 2 Canadians are big X factors for,
And
Indiana.
Matherin, don't forget Matherin.
That's what I meant. He's from
Yeah.
Arizona. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mathurin.
exactly.
Those
Yeah,
2 those 2 kids are both good players.
yeah.
They're coming off the bench. I think Indiana's one of the deepest teams in the East is Indiana. They're
Yeah.
rolling people out, man. They
Yeah.
are playing that style, and they're rolling people out. And
I
that's out of all the Eastern Conference, we'll do the Southeast, obviously. My
yeah,
dark horse in the East is Indiana because of
right.
how they play basketball.
I put Indiana second because I feel that Milwaukee's they are on the down low, but I believe it's more of a lateral team right now. I think if they can fix the bench and if they can get Doc to get it together with a full season and having training camp, I think you can't forget them. But I completely
For sure.
agree with you about the Indiana Pacers, and you know how much I love offensive teams,
Yeah.
and they are fun to watch. And we're in agreement for the most part. I only put the Bucks up there because they were ex champions 2 years
Sure.
ago, and I respect the major players. And you know, I'm a huge Dame fan.
Yep.
But in the Southeast is very
Oh,
interesting. I found the
incredibly tough.
Southeast really quite challenging because it's the weakest conference in the
It is.
East.
The weakest division
Um,
in the Eastern
and
Conference.
so who do you have
Well,
in the Southeast? What do you think?
I'm gonna take a flyer, and I'm gonna pick Orlando to be first,
That's who I
uh,
have.
over the Heat. I think the Heat, kinda like Milwaukee, sunsetting on that roster and that nucleus. I again, your best player never plays more than 50 games, and you
And he's
can't just
paid
not
$50 million this year.
he's making more money from his coffee than NBA probably, but he they don't again, I like, Vasquez as a rookie last year. He's a good
Yeah, he's
player. They
good.
have a
Yeah,
young
he's good.
Serbian kid, 7-footer that's has potential to be
Novich.
a really good player.
Novich. Yeah.
He's just starting to get some time now.
Yeah.
But
About time.
I just think that nucleus itself with Hero and, Lowry and,
Rozier.
Robinson, and I just think that they're if they have 1 year left, it might be this year, but for me, I just think kinda like Milwaukee, they'll be competitive,
Yeah.
but they're not winning anything, I
No.
guess is
And
why
the problem is they have no bench, and
they
they
have no
haven't, and now they got Bam playing like a 4-5, and he's shooting threes.
yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
threes. And they don't have another 7-footer on their roster. Well, they do, but he's a rookie. And that's this Ware kid, the seven
right,
footer. I watched him in the preseason summer league, and man, this kid's for real, eh? He's
yeah,
got length. He's kind of like Jared Allen, but more athletic,
more
if
athletic,
the,
yep, yep,
and longer.
yep,
Believe it or not. And so I agree with you on the Heat. I've got them number 2 as well, and then I've got the Atlanta Hawks. I think now that they got rid of Murray and they can give the team back to where it belongs, whether you like him or not, at Trey Young,
for
who's
sure,
a dynamic point guard. He's the only point guard in the NBA last year to average 20 and 10, over 10 assists and 28 points a game. And a lot of people don't like the kid, but I really like him. And I
uh,
think now that Murray's gone to, I don't know what the hell is going on. We'll talk about the Pelicans later,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I think with the emergence of the power forward that just signed a $175 million contract, and he's only a second-year player, is remarkable. And then they've got the two bigs battling it out. They've got depth. They're a team to watch out for. You can't give
yep,
up on them. And then I always love watching the Charlotte Hornets. I honestly love watching LaMelo Ball,
trash,
and I love. Yeah, they're terrible. They're a terrible team. They have no depth. Terrible
exactly,
franchise. Terrible coaching. They
yep,
have. It's really quite pathetic. But I love their uniforms, and I'm a big Miles Bridges fan, and I'm a big Ball fan. And I'm more of a player fan on them, but
sure,
I do like watching them run and gun, and
sure,
watching LaMelo Ball being electrifying is always exciting. But they're terrible, and even worse, that maybe the worst team in the NBA. I don't know, maybe Brooklyn Nets, maybe Detroit's better, but
yeah,
certainly in the East Coast, the Washington Wizards are
but
freaking trash.
they
They're
are terrible,
terrible,
yeah,
terrible.
they're
But
bad.
they got a couple of good players in there that I like to watch. But for the most part, I don't like really anyone on that team.
For me in that division, it's a coin. I mean, I'm picking Orlando. I mean,
Yeah,
as, Shaq says, the Wagner brothers,
yeah.
they and
No,
just
they in German they go Wagner,
Wagner,
Wagner.
Wagner
With
brothers.
Wagner.
Yeah, and then you have them and Banchero. Suggs is coming into his own.
Suggs just signed
Yeah,
$150 million. I don't know who's giving that guy $30 million a year. Honestly, I cannot believe it. Sorry.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
just whatever,
but I'm with
whatever.
you. I'm for me, it's Orlando, Atlanta, Miami is a coin flip, 2 or 3. That'll depend on health. I mean,
Right.
again, Atlanta
Of
got
course.
bit in the butt with that last year a bit,
Yeah.
but I mean, and it's a coin flip for Washington and Charlotte. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just 2 horribly ran franchises.
Yeah.
As I got my guy, the goat behind me, hitting his Game 6 winning shot against Utah. He was a terrible owner,
Yeah.
terrible general manager.
Yeah.
Most times, the great players aren't, on average, aren't usually great with scouting talent. Not all of
Yeah.
them, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
But Charlotte and Washington's a coin flip. They're just terribly run franchises. I mean,
Yeah.
and we've talked about this before. People who are just sports fans don't take into account, if you look at the teams who are successful in any league of the 4 major professional leagues. I'll skip baseball because there is no salary cap, so it's just the teams who spend the most
Right.
money.
Yeah. Good point.
But in the 3 other leagues, I mean, we do have a cap situation in the NBA as well, as far as I'm concerned, as well, with uh, the whole luxury tax. You can just pay whatever.
They added a second shelf to
Yeah,
that as well.
it's crazy, right?
Oh, jeez.
So there's a reason that in those 3 sports, though, that you see 10 to 12 franchises that are always over 500 or in the playoffs and competitive. Well,
Yeah.
it's not just because they have the best players. These are all the best players,
Yeah.
right, in the world, basically playing.
Supposedly top 450
Yeah,
players in the
right?
world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are all the top players. It's not just about the players, it's about the management, it's about the organization. And some of these
Absolutely.
organizations are trash. They're
Yeah.
run by people. You look at some of these draft picks,
Yeah.
and you and I sitting in front of our computers right now could make a better pick.
Oh my
And
God. We've
we
talked
could
about
make a
that
terrible
so
we
many
we could
times.
make even a worse pick, but it is a crapshoot to draft. I get that. But at the same time, I mean, some of these organizations are just they're run so poorly. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what kind of talent they get, they're not going to win. So
It's
that's how
a
I look at it.
No, I
So,
mean
but it's
you're bang on, Trent, and you're bang on, and it just reminds me of my fantasy basketball, Yahoo NBA fantasy basketball. I'll do an episode probably just on fantasy basketball. We would have done it. Trent and I talked about it, but we started a little bit late in the season, and we'll get into it next summer before the season starts, and we'll do a dedicated fantasy basketball scenario. But I've got 8 teams again. I've had 8 teams for since 2004. I do 8 teams as general manager. And when you're a general manager and you're drafting your own team and you're researching and you know the players, I mean, this is what Trent and I do. We know every single player in the NBA. We can tell you what their weaknesses are. We can tell you what their strengths are. We can tell you what time of injuries that they enjoy the most. Usually a calf contusion of some kind.
yeah,
And at the end of the day, there's a lot of information there. And both Trent and I, being hardcore hoop junkies, we actually know just as much as a lot of these people that are making 6, 7, 8 figures in
yeah,
the NBA. It's just I'm sitting in my my man cave in Kelowna, and Trent's sitting in his. He's
yeah,
got Trent's got this awesome entire sports bar. This is just one end of it. It is
yeah.
awesome. It's so good.
Basketball end of it. Yeah.
Anyways, Trent, let's move over. That was a great. We mostly agreed to agree,
Okay, so let's.
and
I would say just to end
for
the
the
East,
yeah
pick your top 8 in the East because that's used to be the playoffs. Used to be the top
yeah
8. So
yeah.
I'm going
Oh,
to
you
tell you
want to go top 8? Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna do my top 8, and
Sure,
you
I'll
can
do mine
vote.
after.
So I got Boston, New
Yeah,
York, Indiana,
yeah.
Cleveland, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Orlando, Atlanta.
Okay,
That's who I got.
okay. Um, and I've got which is very similar, and I'm looking at 6 different guys that are all big writers, and I've looked at what theirs are, and I'm just going to go with my heart, and I'm going to go. What do we do in the uh,
Just top 8.
top 8?
Yeah,
I'm going to go with the Celtics. I'm going to go with my Knicks. I'm going to agree with you on the Pacers because they're just scary talented, and they'll run and gun everybody else into oblivion
yeah.
if they're on fire and they've got depth and well coached. I would go for the Cleveland. I was going to go Philly, but because of the Embiid situation, no, I just don't believe it. I'm going to go Cleveland, and I'm going to go with the Bucks, and I'm going to go then the Magic, then the Heat, and then Atlanta, and then Chicago.
So you don't even have Philly in the top 8.
I said Philly. Philly would be number
Oh,
5.
4, okay. Okay, 5, yeah.
Number
Okay.
5, and that's if he can play 50 games. And then they've got Drummond playing 30. If Drummond gets 15 and 15 and a block stocks, he gets 3 stocks because for a big man he gets steals and blocks.
Right.
He gets those 30 games and he's 15-15.
Yep.
Philly, if they stay healthy, watch out. Do not underestimate Nick Nurse. He's
No,
brilliant.
of course not. Yeah. Alright, well, let's move to
Um,
the West.
okay. So, do you want me to start out with the Northwest?
Let's start with the Northwest. That's probably the most competitive one. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. So I've got obviously I've got Denver Nuggets. Maybe the best center, arguably the best center still in the NBA all around. Certainly
best
in
player.
fantasy, best player, absolutely. And they've just locked in their entire 8 or 9 rotation. Gave
Yep.
everybody a ton of money. Porter Jr. just got paid. Um,
Chucker.
uh, huh?
Chucker.
Chucker got paid. I'm looking forward to a good year with Porter Jr. this year. I think Aaron Gordon has
Just
played
got paid.
really quite
Yep.
well, and he just got paid.
Yep.
They got
Murray
Russell
just got
Westbrook. I
paid.
think is a huge pickup for them.
Yep.
Russell
Agreed.
Westbrook
Yep.
because their point guard last year. I can't even remember his name because I can't stand him. He's a backup, maybe a third point guard, but they've got Braun, and they picked up a bunch of free agent guys. And I think their continuity and their coaching and how they play basketball. When you have the best big man in the world, um, you are a danger. You're in the top 5 in the NBA. And I think Denver is a top 5 team. I would say number 2, and some people could argue could be number 1 this year. And a lot of
Yep.
people are saying that it will be. Is the Oklahoma City Thunder?
Yep.
Um, Unfortunately, with Hartelstein breaking his hand, depending on how bad of a break it is, if it's a small fracture or an actual huge fracture, which finger, shooting hand, offhand, it's going to take several months.
Right.
And that's really unfortunate because that puts Holmgren back as a center. Now, he did a great job last year as a center, but I kid you not, the kid is what? He probably weighs what I weigh, about a buck 95.
Yeah.
And I've lost 40 pounds. But
Wow.
and I love Holmgren, but they've got depth, they've got coaching, they've got the best GM in the game, I think, and they've got a terrific fan base. And really, I think the best point guard and certainly when we do at the end of the show our guesses and who we think's going to be, you know, the sixth man of the year, the top scorer, the MVP, the coach of the year, all that, they're in the discussion. And Shy, being Canadian, is just an extraordinary point guard and very talented. And anyways, I got them. And then who do you got for the remainder 3 teams? Trent, what do you got?
So I got OKC finishing first in that division,
Yeah,
and then
I
Denver,
figured you would.
and then Mini. I think Mini has a little bit of a fall off. I mean, not
Wow.
a lot, but I think they're again. Uh, I don't know. They just. I'm not sold on Minnesota. I mean, they're fun to watch. Anthony Edwards, super good athlete, fun player to
You're
watch,
not
but he's
sold on them, and you've got them over the Nuggets. That's kind of
no,
weird.
no, no. I got OKC, Denver, then Mini.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I got OKC, Denver. As far as I'm concerned, right now in the West, those are the number 1 and 2 teams. Is
Yeah,
OKC and Denver.
I
Everybody
agree.
else is playing for have to beat them.
Pretty
Um,
much.
I would say so. Those 3, I would say OKC, Denver, Mini, and then flip a coin between Utah and Portland. I mean, I don't-
Yeah,
I mean,
I got Utah over. I think Utah's a better
Utah.
team.
Yeah, I do too. But neither team's winning anything. So I
No,
mean,
but
those top
Utah's the
3
better
teams.
team.
Yeah, I mean, the top 3 teams in the Midwest or in the Northwest here are
Yeah,
probably 3 of the top 5 teams in the West,
yeah. Well, it
just
shows you
in that
how
division, right?
the West has really dropped off a little bit for the first time in a while.
Right.
Yeah, good point. I agree with you 100%. Let's go into the Pacific.
Oh, your team. Well, I'm gonna go. I mean, I'm gonna take the Warriors. I'm actually sorry. I'm gonna take Sacramento. I'm a Sacramento fan. They're kind of like Indiana for me. The way they
Holy
play,
crap.
they have potential to be such a good team. Um, I think Sabonis is super underrated. The
Yeah, I
guy
love
had
him.
61 or 62 double doubles last year. I mean,
Yeah,
he got kid's a beast.
yeah. He is.
I
He's
don't
relentless.
Fox is a good player. Monk's a good player. Getting DeRozan was a sweet grab.
Yeah, yeah,
They're going to be a fun team to watch. They've been a fun team to
yeah.
watch for a couple of years now. So I'm on
They
that
have.
train right now. So
And they
I'm
got
just going
more
to take
depth. And and they got more
Yeah,
depth, and they've got pretty good coaching. My old coach and friend and mentor Jay Triano is the associate
yeah,
head coach, another fantastic Canadian.
yeah.
And I enjoy watching them play because they have much more depth, and they're run and gun. When they're playing well, they're a fun team to watch. They
Yep.
play D, they get up and down, they have great team synergy and
They play
continuity.
the right way together, it seems.
They really do, and I'm a big fan of Sabonis, man. And Fox, Fox, what he turned down? He turned
Yeah,
down like 150 million, but he can get a 5-year supermax at 385 million dollars. That's why he turned it
ridiculous.
down. That is
So
just
I'm gonna take a flyer on Sacramento winning that division, and then I'm gonna
okay.
go Golden State. I
Yeah,
think that they're gonna have a better year this year. I think they got a bit younger. They're gonna have
yeah,
more people who can play. I
yeah.
think this is make or break season for Jonathan Kuminga. I think
They're not
if he
paying him. They're not
no,
paying
if he
him.
doesn't, unless he just goes crazy this year,
Yeah,
he's not. He's gonna get traded.
yeah.
So
They're not going to pay him 200 million. They're just not going to do it.
no, this is his make or break year with Golden
Yeah,
State in
yeah.
general and
No,
or
I
team
agree.
in the league. And then I mean, after those 2 teams, I mean, the Clippers are Kawhi is already not playing, and they're gonna supposedly, James Harden's off the chicken wings from strip clubs right now off that, so he's, lost weight and ready to go, probably pumped himself full of Ozempic as well, so, um, they sound like they're gonna play the style they were playing he played in Houston with him
Yeah,
dominating the ball, so the most
yeah,
boring style of basketball.
yeah.
So I'm actually gonna take, Phoenix in 3rd,
Yeah,
the Clippers in 4th, and the
yeah.
Lakers in last in the
Okay.
Pacific.
Well, this is our first
'Cause I
major
know you love the
disagreement.
Lakers.
First major disagreement at all. I think you're way off on that, but we'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, we will.
I think what the Lakers have done, they're really just one big man away. They were hoping on Christian Wood being healthy, but he's never been healthy in any team he's been with, and he's got so much talent for a 7-footer. But they got the kid Jackson Hayes, who is
Yeah,
electrifying. He's kind of like Derek Lively. And I think that really helps. They're talking about bringing in a center. I don't think it's. I think they don't. I think the Lakers are going to be first if they can stay healthy once again, and they have tremendous depth. They've done a couple of nice additions. They've really cultured and developed their youth movement over the last sort of 5 years of drafting, and where there's guys on the precipice of taking over. I think Austin Reeves is vastly underrated. I think JJ Redick is going to, what he's done with the offense is revolutionary. If you've seen any of Laker games play, what JJ's done with their offense, it's shocking. And the nuances, the things that he's done are really, they're very similar to what everybody's doing, but he's just changed a couple of the dynamics in those nuances and created more flow and more concise cutting and movement and passing and understanding. Anyways, I'm a Lakers fan. I watch a lot of them. I got the Lakers first. I've got the Phoenix Suns with their coach and their trio healthy. And if they can have their center actually contribute and keep off the pizza so he doesn't blow up to about 375, Nurkic, they've got a good bench, good coaching. I think the Suns are very dangerous. They can really score. All three of their
yep,
big players can put it up. They've got some nice guard action off the bench. They've got the lowest assist or the highest assist to turnover over point guard that can distribute the ball and play D and hit the occasional three. I've got the Golden State Warriors at number 3. I do like some of the additions they picked up, especially in the backcourt. A couple of their bigs have lost weight. I think a very underrated big is going to get a heck of a lot more run. He's the 22-year-old kid, the 7-footer. Um, was it Trace Williams Edwards, I believe? And I don't know. I just think anytime you got Steph Curry, you have a chance. At 36, he is the best shooter in the history of the NBA, in the world, in my opinion. And he still has it. And if he can stay healthy and off his ankles, never count out that cat because he is just absolutely prolifically scary. And then I've got Sacramento Kings. And then last but not least, the Clippers, who I hate. And the whole thing about a billionaire guy giving $250 million to Kawhi at this stage is just pure stupidity.
Yep.
And I just, and you know what? Getting rid of George was excellent. George signs another 250 million, $250 million contract with Philly, and the first week in
Yep.
preseason, hyperextends his knee again. He's out. I mean, this guy
Yep.
is lucky to play 50 games, and this is the whole thing with Philly. They've got Embiid. It's just the injury thing. Picking up and paying these injury prone guys. Look, you got to have a ton of money and
Yep.
not care. And I think that's what the Clippers Steve Ballmer is like.
Yep.
He's passionate dude, and he's got a ton of money, and I think he does care. And they have a brand new arena, brand new uniforms, which I like, but they're just terrible.
Yeah. I agree. Like I
Uh,
said, the pushback is, I think the flyer for me is Sacramento. I think they're a wild card in the West
Interesting,
in general. I
interesting.
mean, it's a
Uh,
it's a hard place to play. It's probably one of the best home courts there is in the league. The whole light the beam thing, it's pretty neat, but the crowd's into it. I just
yeah,
they're on the precipice. Picking up DeRozan was a really good pickup for them. A
yeah.
guy that they can get a basket from. Now they have him
They
and
need a
Bogdan.
big. They need another big to back up Sabonis.
They need
If
they need
Sabonis never gets injured, but if he does, they're in trouble.
I agree. But yeah, I
Um,
mean the Lakers, and I like the one thing about the Lakers I liked is the draft pick of Dalton Connect from Tennessee. That
boy,
kid can play.
oh
He
wow,
showed he could play the other night.
yeah,
Um,
I saw
he's
it.
the best rookie they have. The other rookie that got all the hype should probably be playing in the G League.
Yeah.
And
Well, he finally had a
but
good game, but you know why he's there?
I can't. We'll talk about that on another episode. I think
Sure,
it's
sure.
total crap that
Well,
they let this guy run in the
we're
league.
doing pretty good actually. We've had a really nice episode so far, and we're at 56 minutes. Trent, we've got the Southwest to go,
Yep.
and then we're going to finish things up with our predictions, if that's
All right.
okay with you.
Sure. Let's do the
And
Southwest.
so start
Go
off with
for
the
it.
Southwest. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously I'm going to go with my favorite team in the Southwest, and one of my favorite players is Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. And I'm a huge Cuban fan. I love Mark Cuban. I always have, and I think what he's done with that franchise and is remarkable. Not only from a financial standpoint and a business standpoint, he just cashed out for a $500 million, um,
Yep.
or pardon me, several $1 billion, and still retained a
Yeah.
minority, a very large minority ownership, and he doesn't have to. He can just sit back and focus on. He's leaving the his television show finally, the
Yep.
Canadian Chart Club thing. He's just brilliant, and what they've done and put together is worked. And I think they're very dangerous. And
Yep.
I'm going with the Mavericks, and I think if I'd say Memphis. If they're healthy, Memphis is going to be scary good,
Yep.
and
Healthy.
people have no idea healthy.
Yeah.
And because Jean Morant is incredible, one of my favorite players in the NBA is not Jean Morant, is Bane. I'm a huge Bane fan, Desmond Bane. If you only had arms like me and you, long arms, he could be so much better. I don't know what happened there, and because it looks stubby, it just looks weird. But he's a great
Yeah.
player. But I think that my surprise player, and I believe, and we'll get into our predictions, will be the rookie of the year, is their new center they drafted in ninth position, a Canadian, and I think he is going to change the dynamics of their franchise. And he is two times better than the Kiwi they had before, who's with the Houston Rockets now.
Right.
And I watched him just recently in an exhibition game. In 19 minutes, he had 27 points, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks, 4 assists, a steal in 19 minutes. He is
Yep.
7'4", legitimate,
Yep.
wide. He's lost 30 pounds,
Yep.
and he's still 290 pounds.
He's a
He
huge
is
human being.
just unstoppable. And with the weight loss, he's moving his feet well. Watch out. That kid is just going to be crazy. Then I got the Houston Rockets.
Yep.
And they've just locked in all of their young talent. They've got a lot of talent. They've got one of the best coaches in the NBA. And then I've got the Spurs with Wemby and Pop, and they've added talent. And then to finish it off, the hapless New Orleans Hornets that
I
are
cannot
starting
believe
Daniel Tice at 6'8" at center.
yeah.
What are they smoking in the Pelican?
Well,
Are they smoking Pelicans? Like
well,
what is?
and then there's rumors of them shopping around Brandon Ingram right now as
Yeah,
well. I
yeah. Oh,
mean,
that's brilliant, brilliant timing. Yeah,
and then they got CJ McCollum, who I mean,
Should be 6-man.
yeah, yeah. So I will agree with you on Dallas. I think that's an easy choice. I mean, Dallas is going to be right there in the West in general.
Yep. Yep.
Um, I think Houston could be a team that could make a bit of a jump.
Yep.
Uh, the young big man that they signed, he's a nice player. Um, and
Alfred Shengun,
yeah,
I love him.
yeah, and they're gonna play fast, right?
Yep.
So
And youthful with
and
energy.
I think Memphis as well. If they're healthy, they were already a super competitive team when they were healthy. They were right
Yeah.
there at the top of the West before Morant got hurt, and then Jackson. They were
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to see that they can't continue that. Zach Edey's going to probably play 20 minutes a game. I don't know how much more he can play. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
with big men, I mean, we always have to be worried about feet, foot problems.
Oh, did you hear that,
Running up
Trent?
and
Did you
down.
hear that? That
What's
was the
that?
first. I just, I, I just completely disagree with you. 20 minutes. He's going to play. He's going to play
Well,
close to 30 minutes. You
I
watch.
hope so,
He's going
but
to win the Rookie of the Year, and he's going to be an unstoppable force of nature.
well, I'm rooting for him. I mean, obviously, I'm rooting
And
for him
he's
being a
Canadian,
Canadian.
eh?
Let's go. But so I'm kind of with you on them. I think barring health again is probably one of the teams that hinges on health the most because of their depth would be
And their
Memphis.
talented power forward is
Yeah,
hindered again in the beginning
yeah.
of the year, which is
He's such
frightening.
a good. Oh, he's such a good player too.
Oh,
I
he's
mean,
so good, man.
so I'm kind of with you on that. I would
Okay.
say I wouldn't disagree with you. I think New Orleans is obviously, if people are healthy, they're probably a pretty good team. I mean, Zion's going to be probably a 25 and 10 guy, but again, who knows? He
He
probably
does
plays.
nothing else, though. Nothing else. He
Yeah,
doesn't
I
shoot
don't.
threes. Doesn't
No,
drop dimes. He doesn't get assists. He doesn't I mean, he rebounds, but not like he should.
no.
He's like the power forward junior over in Memphis. He's five rebounds a game. I mean,
So I'll give you the top eight in the West for me.
okay, okay,
OKC at one, Denver at two, Dallas at three, Mini at four, Sacktown, light that beam baby at five.
yeah,
Then I got Phoenix. Then I got the Lakers, and then I
wow,
have the Grizzlies.
wow, okay. Well, I'm gonna go with. I had three choices where I was just playing with things, but and I'll improvise on that because they're all over the place. But I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Oklahoma City as the best team in the West. And that was when before Hartenstein broke his hand, but he'll be back before the end of the season, and I think he's a huge piece. I mean,
Yep,
you don't throw to a guy that was a bench warmer for the vast majority of his career, 84 million dollars over 3 years, and not use him.
of course.
I just don't think it's going to happen. I
He'll
think,
be a good piece for them defensively and rebounding. He's
yeah,
going to be a nice
definitely,
piece for them.
definitely. Oklahoma City first. I like Dallas second. I think Denver Nuggets third. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Timberwolves fourth. I'm going to go with the Phoenix Suns fifth. I'm going to go with the Memphis Grizzlies, 7. And that Phoenix and Grizzly, 5th and 8 or 7 could change.
Right,
I might put Memphis at Phoenix and put Phoenix below.
of course.
And then the Rockets, then the Warriors and the Pelicans.
What about the
Uh,
Lakers?
oh, I didn't put the Lakers in there.
Oh,
Oh,
wait.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's because I'm looking at my other note. So I'm going to put the Lakers in. Um, I'm going to move Dallas to the second position and go Oklahoma, Dallas, Lakers,
Oh my God.
then
Okay.
Denver,
All right.
then Mini.
Did you have a gummy before we did this? Because you're
No,
putting the
I'm going to
Lakers.
have one after though, because I have.
Really? The Lakers
Yeah,
ahead of the Nuggets?
I had a hard 10K this morning, and I wiped out on my bike on the Bellevue Trail, and I hurt my bum
The
a little bit.
Lakers ahead of the Nuggets. You're going with that. That's what you're
Yeah,
gonna go with.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm a Lakers fan.
Oh, I know.
The problem with the Nuggets is they have no bench, zero
Yeah,
bench.
well,
Where the Lakers do,
yeah, we'll see.
they have depth, and you need depth in the playoffs. You need
Hey,
depth
man,
to get
I
through a
I think
season.
the Lakers are a good team. I just don't root for them. They're
No,
gonna be
I
in the
understand.
playoffs, but
You don't need to tell me anymore. We've been friends
they
for
don't need
35
to
years.
change. It's OKC, Denver, Dallas, or Mini. That's who's winning, and the flyer is Sacramento. That's
Well,
how I look at it.
and so that was fun, Trent. I really appreciate your opinion as always. Predictions 2024 and 25. Who is your prediction for the most valuable player?
How about we save our we did the predictions for our standings in the league. How
Yeah,
about we save our predictions for the next episode?
if you want.
Yeah,
Yeah, no
let's do
problem.
that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the season starts today, so the
Yeah.
question is, at the end of the day, you're a pretty busy cat, and excuse me. And I think if we can find a set day to do this, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know what your Sundays are like, but
Football
Sundays are
day.
it's football. Okay, that won't work. So either like
We'll
Tuesday or
figure it out.
Thursday. Yeah, we'll
We'll
figure it
figure
out.
it out personally. We don't figure it out on air
All
here,
right.
but
Well,
yeah.
let's wrap it up. Is there anything you want to close with today?
No, man. Thanks for everybody who's going to take a chance to listen. This is remember this is our first go at it. This will
Yeah.
just get better, and we'll probably have a bit more fun because you're going to see a lot more ridiculous takes like the Lakers being better than Denver from Paul all year round. So that's why I'm here to try to keep that
I
stuff in the
never said
check.
they were
Even though
better than Denver. I just said that they would finish
somebody
third and
trade.
fourth, and Denver would right behind
So
them. Lakers could be fourth, and
again,
Denver could be third. Doesn't matter to
thanks
me. I like them
thanks for
both.
everybody who's gonna thanks for everybody who's gonna take part, and I'm gonna make sure
Yeah.
to shove it out to, all my West guys on the West Coast, and Paul's
Yeah.
got all his buddies, that he played with, as well as I do, to try to get them to listen, and we make sure you, not just listen to or, make sure you subscribe as well.
Yeah.
Uh, I would say, feel free to give us, any feedback is always appreciated. Again, this is only just gonna get better. That's how I look
Yeah.
at it. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have fun doing it,
Yeah.
and, go Raptors.
And please subscribe if you enjoy basketball and you enjoy this. Is our first episode. We're hoping to do 100. That's the goal. And then we'll see where it goes from there. But I'm very much encouraged, and I'm very happy to have Trent here. And as you can all agree, for those that will be watching this when it's released, probably tomorrow on YouTube, Trent's voice is made for radio. And by the
Yeah.
way, before we go, I just
Trent's
want to plug.
favorite
I just want to plug Trent and his partner in crime back in St. Paul, Alberta, Ben Poulin. They're on
Yeah,
Spotify, and they've done about 30 episodes, if not more.
more, yeah.
And Ben Poulin and Trent co-host. I'll let you talk about it. Trent's your show.
Two guys, one rant. It's again, like I said to you, this show is more global, as in reaching a lot more people because we're talking just about
Hell
basketball.
yeah,
Our show,
we're going global. Don't
we're
you forget
just,
that.
Ben and I are just we're talking about local things that happen in St.
Yeah,
Paul, Canada, where I'm at, and
yeah,
just shout outs to people in our community who are doing it right and
yeah,
making a difference,
yeah,
and just giving people their comeuppance who need it and,
yeah,
aren't doing what they're supposed to do for us with elected officials, stuff like that. But it's more of a
yeah. I know.
local thing, which is fun
Yeah,
to do. But this is going to be, like I said, this is going to be fun. We'll get our bearings as we go forward a bit more, and
yeah.
probably have a few more laughs. And but again, hit the subscribe button when you do when you do it and watch.
And
More
like and comment and hit the notification bell if you want to see the
yeah,
next episode. We're going to be doing one a week.
right on,
And
man. Well, that's all I
And
got.
also, I might throw in an extra one in the week and just do a solo show on fantasy because I have 8 teams and break down fantasy basketball a little bit more concise and detailed as it needs to be for those that are interested in
Yeah,
Yahoo NBA fantasy sports. And we'll tell you about our teams as well. Trent Rowley, thank you so much for joining me in this the first our premiere episode of the Canadian Bro Show. You can read the ticker below. You can see Trent's show and his full name and spelling. Again, please, I know everyone always says this on YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment, hit the notification bell, and just let us know if there's something that you want us to bring up, something you want us to talk about. You want to talk about your local league in Canada or wherever you are. We're happy and we're very interested in hearing from what will be a very growing fan base, hopefully sooner than later. But once again, thank you for joining us. My name is Paul Bale, and on behalf of the talented Trent Rowley, um, we will see you next week. Thank you for joining us, and very excited to do this. And honestly, the hair in the back of my neck standing up right now. I'm so proud and so happy. Thank you again, Trent. I
yeah,
couldn't do this without you because you're just not only is your voice smooth, but you're one of my best friends,
yeah.
and I really appreciate your time.
Right on, man.
Take care, everyone. We are going to we're gonna go. Take care. Have a great day. Peace.
Later.
Later.